Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Good morning, 5:50 a.m. This morning we're doing a collaboration across the nation. I'm on the east coast of Australia, and as you can see behind me is the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge, the two landmarks that I think most people recognise Australia for, which is a little unfair because they're a very small part of Australia, but they are in Sydney, and Sydney is a very popular destination from a tourism point of view. This morning what I've decided to do is join a friend that I've now made over YouTube, which is another photography vlogger on the west coast of Australia called Andrew Marr. We're doing a collaboration across the nation, and we decided to theme today's vlog Australia, and that's why I'm here at this location with the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge behind me. It is October the 14th, it's sunrise. We decided for this challenge that what we had to do was we had to capture the same sunrise on the same morning. I'm on the east coast, he's on the west coast. Andrew will be also capturing the sunrise on the west coast this morning. Your challenge is to find his YouTube channel in the links down below this video and hit the subscribe button. Go and check out Andrew's channel. He's a great photographer, he's doing some great stuff over there. And if you enjoy watching Australian photography vloggers, you're going to love Andrew's work. Down in the description you'll find his YouTube channel. Hit the link and go and subscribe to his channel.
I still call Australia home. All the sons and daughters spinning round the world, away from their family and their friends.
I'm going to now start setting up to shoot sunrise this morning. There is a bit of cloud and storms off the coast of Sydney this morning, so I'm not sure what sort of colour we're going to get. You can probably see a little bit behind me at this stage. I'm going to work on trying to capture the essence of Australia here in Sydney by grabbing a shot of the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge during sunrise. So let's see how we go. Alright, so just getting set up now, and what I'm thinking about, because these clouds are moving across the sky, I'm thinking about doing a long exposure to try and capture that movement across the Harbour Bridge. I've got the Nikon D810 set up here. I've got the 16 to 35mm lens on, and I'll just show you my preview, my live view, and you'll sort of get a feel for the scene that I'm capturing. So you can see I'm getting a pretty wide scene there. I've got the Opera House and is under the bridge, and then I've got the Harbour Bridge with a bit of a city to the right. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do there. I might try centering things a little bit yet. You know, I'll try a couple of different compositions, but I think I'm definitely going to put my Lee big stopper on, and what that'll mean is I'll get that movement of the clouds. But what I will have to do is I'll have to take a couple of faster shutter speeds, because there's a couple of boats in my picture and I don't want the boats to be all blurry, so I'll need to blend those skies back in a bit later. So I'm all set up, and I've got a composition sorted out. I know this won't surprise Andrew. I'm actually going to crop it into a panoramic, I've decided. I've got the Lee big stopper on there, and I was about to grab my phone to calculate the shutter speed, but I just realised I have my phone over there. I don't know if you can see it or not. Recording a time lapse on my favourite little doohickey. I don't know what that thing is. It's a little 360 thing, but I'm doing a time lapse of the sunrise, and as it takes the time lapse, it slowly rotates. But I do have an app on my phone, and if you do use Lee filters, they've got an app that allows you to calculate the shutter speed when you're using the big stopper. But I'm going to have to do some guessing now, so I'm going for 20 seconds at f9. I'm going to just let it do its thing, and then I'll preview the shot, and if it's overexposed I'll have to lessen the shutter speed. If it's underexposed I'll have to keep it open for longer. I'm going for f9 because I want the depth of field. But I want a long shutter speed because I want to get those clouds moving across the sky, because there's not a lot of colour happening this morning. Yes, it's way too dark, so I'm going to go for a longer shutter speed now. I'm going to try 30 seconds, and then if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to go to bulb and make it even longer, which is okay, I don't mind. If I've got to do a minute, that'll be fantastic. If I can get a minute out of it, or a minute and a half, I'll be really happy. So at 30 seconds it wasn't quite enough. The exposure is still very dark. I'm going to have to go to bulb setting, and I'm going to try a minute, because 30 seconds wasn't long enough. So counting up to a minute, see how we go. I don't think there's enough movement in these clouds, to be honest with you, to get anything too spectacular in a minute exposure, but we'll see. We'll see. The whole idea is to try and get something creative with the essence of Australia I hope Andrew's doing something cool as well over there in on the west coast. I'm pretty sure we'll get a decent shot here this morning. Not going to be a lot of colour though. That's a huge amount of cloud over there, if you can see. That's going to prevent the sun from really giving us the colour that we expect at sunrise. So just previewing my 1 minute exposure. You know what? I reckon I can get a bit longer out of it. I'm going to try doing 90 seconds and see what happens. Let's do it. Now, I think 90 seconds may be too long, but we'll see what happens. I'm just trying a 2 minute exposure. I've done a 1 minute, it was a bit dark. I did a 90 second. That's it was well exposed, but I'm seeing if I can get away with 2 minutes to get a bit more movement in the sky, because the clouds aren't moving very fast. And then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take another shot with a quicker shutter speed, because that boat there, as you can see, is in my shot. It's moving around as you would expect with a boat, and it's a bit blurry along with a few of the other boats. So if I get a quicker shutter speed, I can then blend those back in a bit later. But it's a bit of fun, eh? A bit of fun having a challenge. This is a location I normally wouldn't shoot. It's a very well photographed position. Let me just check my watch. Oh, I better stop this here and check my 2 minute exposure. It's not a... Yeah, wow, that's better. It's not a spot where I would often come, because a lot of it's just really over photographed. The other thing is there's no real foreground interest here for me. I like a bit of foreground, and there's no foreground here. But given the fact that we set this challenge of it being Australian, I couldn't think of anything more you know, known, or a landmark that's more Australian than the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. So maybe I'm biased because I live in Sydney, but that's what I was thinking. Anyway, I'll show you this 2 minute exposure. I think you'll agree, you know, overall I'm relatively happy with that shot. I will crop it into a panoramic image, which I know I'm pretty well known for doing. And that's one of the good things with the D810, is that such a big sensor that you can crop away and you don't lose too many pixels. So I'll get the big stopper off now, and I will take a couple of quicker shutter speeds just to get the and I'll wait for the boat to be in a good position, because right now it's facing me from behind, which I don't like. So hopefully it'll swing back around and I'll try and get a shot of it. Or the other option is I will just Photoshop it out. You know what, I might do that. Yeah, I'm going to Photoshop it out. That's what I'm going to do. Let's take another long exposure then, because there's some more cloud coming over, and I'll Photoshop that boat out. And that's a bit of cheating. You're going to see some cheating happening this morning. And not everyone's a fan of cheating, but I don't mind it. I'll just quickly show you this Lee Filters app. If you just go into the filter there, you'll see it's like an exposure guide. And what it does is you tell it what stopper you're using. So you can see up there, you can pick the 6 stops, 10 stops, or 15 stops. So that's like the little stopper, big stopper, and the super stopper, or whatever it's called. And then what you do is you dial in the shutter speed that your camera told you to shoot before putting the stopper on. So let's say, you know, your camera exposure automatically wanted to pick a quarter. So I would recommend using aperture priority mode. And let's say you use aperture priority mode and your camera decided it wanted a quarter of a second. Then if you had the 10 stop big stopper on, then 4 minutes is your exposure time. If it said it was 1/15 of a second, then it's 1 minute. If it said it was, say, 4 seconds, oh, that's a long one, isn't it? Say 1 second, you can see it's a 16 minute exposure. Half a second's an 8 minute exposure. So it sort of tells you very quickly what exposure you need. And this app is, you know, as you can see down the bottom there, it's giving you the conversion at the bottom. And then there's also a timer. So then you can hit the timer once you've chosen your time, and hit time, and then it does the timer for you. So it's a really cool app. It's called the Lee exposure. So let me just go back out. The Lee stopper. There you go. It's just the Lee stopper app. You can see that the timer's just worked for me there, but it does a great job. The long exposure was a great idea because there's not a lot of action happening. And what I did was I've actually changed it to f14 now to give myself a bit more to be able to maintain a long shutter speed as the light has got more intense. Because I wanted to stay up around that 2 minute mark, and as the light has got more intense, as the sun is rising somewhere, although I can't see it, there's more light in the sky, and what that's forcing me to do now is if I don't try and fix the amount of light coming into the lens, 2-minute exposure is going to be way overexposed. So the only way for me to do that is either to put more filters on the front, which I don't have, I've only got the 10 stopper, or I can go for a smaller aperture or a larger f number. So I went from f9 up to f14. That has allowed me now, even though this light is getting much more intense, to maintain my longer shutter speed. And I think I might have the shot of the day. I might have my shot with this last exposure. So let me just show you. So I'm pretty happy with that shot. Thinking that might be the shot of the day. You'll see I have my RGB flashing. I have highlights flashing. Now on most cameras, if you just press, this just runs through the information. I can look at the histogram there and see, you know, what's going on with my image. But I just usually have RGB highlights flashing because that tells me if something is overexposed. If I go back to this one, you can see all that flashing. So that told me that all of that area there was overexposed, and an overexposed image is very hard to recover. So I took another shot with a different aperture. So if I show you that one, and we go to the aperture, you'll see that one was still at f9 and this one was at f14. You can see the difference in the histogram. It's all bunched to the right there, so it's telling me it's overexposed as well. And this one's nice and even across the frame, across the histogram, so I know I've got a better image. You know, so yeah, that's why I always have RGBs flashing, because it just quickly tells me, you know, if I see flashing like that, then I know something is overexposed. So you see that one's got none in that one. These are a bit too dark, and you'll see the test shot I took at the beginning. You can see some just there, see just above the bridge. So I recommend if you've got that feature on your camera, once again you'll see it there, then you can easily see, you know, do I need to adjust my exposure? And it works very, very effectively. But I think that's my shot of the day. Now it's just a matter of going back post-processing. I will take another very quick shutter speed. The light is just getting amazing actually. So I'm just going to do another long exposure because the light has just got really nice over there, which I didn't expect this morning with the cloud. I'm going to do another long exposure and see what I get. So of course, before I told you I thought I had my shot, and now the light has just got absolutely amazing out there. So now it's playing havoc with shutter speeds. I just took a 90-second exposure and it was slightly overexposed. The good news is that you know, that light is going to sit there for a little while, so I've got a couple of opportunities. So I'm doing a shorter one now. I'm going to do one for say 1 minute and 10 seconds because I think that'll be about right. But the challenge with sunrise photography and long exposures is that the light changes so rapidly that it's very, very difficult to be able to predict the right shutter speed or what's going to happen next. So, you know, I'm just going to give this one a go at 110 seconds and sorry, 70 seconds, 1 minute and 10 seconds. So that's 70 seconds, and I'll see how that goes. But the light's getting extremely intense. The sun is, I can see it now, raising, and I've probably got about 10 seconds to shut the shutter down or I'm in trouble. All right, check this out. You can see it was 74.7 seconds, and I was probably just a little bit too slow. Whoops, there we go. Before I've got a little bit of flashing highlights. So small. Very, very small amount of flashing highlights. So I'm really happy with that. So I've now removed the lead filter and I'm just taking a couple of shots. Still at f14, same aperture. I don't know if you can see, the boat has now flicked around for me on the side. So I'm just grabbing a few shots where it's going to be in different positions. Ideally it'd be nice if the mast is lined up with one of the uprights on the bridge, just to make my life a lot easier when it comes to blending it in. And this is the sort of thing you need to think about when you're taking a photo. And you notice also I haven't changed composition or anything. I'm not one of those, I'm not a photographer that runs around constantly changing compositions trying to get something better. I get in early, and what I do is I spend a bit of time finding the composition I'm happy with, and it's very, very rare that I will move. But if I find something I like, I just focus on it and I do the best to get the best light. Rather than moving around, because I find it's easy to lose focus if you, that was a good pun there, wasn't it? Easy to lose focus if you just jump around all over the place. So I really like to just focus on sticking to one spot. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to wait and see what happens, but I think that's the best of the light going. I'm just taking another time lapse because I think I can get a nice time lapse of the sun coming up. And if I get a lot of questions about the gizmos and gadgets that I use, this one here, I'm just using a little hot shoe mount, tripod mount that I got on eBay for a couple of bucks. And then that's called a square, I think it's a square jellyfish, the iPhone holder. It's just spring loaded and it just clamps on your phone and holds it. And then I just use the time lapse function on the phone. It works really, really well.
No matter how far or how wide I roam, I still call Australia home.
Well, there you have it. That's it for today's challenge. The challenge, or the brief, was Australia. That was the theme. And of course, it's a collaboration across the nation with my friend Andrew Marr over in WA, another fellow photography vlogger. Make sure you know, in the description, find the link to his YouTube channel. Go and hit subscribe, and let him know that you've seen my challenge this morning, and that and go and check out his challenge. He'll also be putting his challenge up today. And his challenge was to get sunrise on the west coast of Australia with the theme of Australia. And hopefully we've both met the challenge brief and you've enjoyed the video. If you have, hit the thumbs up, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments about other photographers that in Australia that you admire or follow that are on YouTube, and maybe we can get a bigger collaboration going next time. Thanks for watching.